In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things that I have learned from my mentors in the music industry. And just thinking about how incredibly valuable this information has been over the past few years to me, I can't wait to share this with you. It's going to be super helpful to you as well. Now, if you're new to this channel, my name is Philip from Pick Yourself, and I run this just to help you build a meaningful life based on your passion for electronic music and music production. So if that resonates with you, make sure to subscribe. I put out videos every single week. So thinking about those 3 things that I've learned from my mentors in the music industry, the one that I want to start with is the one that helped me combat perfectionism. The information that I learned, thankfully, is that the best way to achieve a high level of quality is through a high level of quantity and trusting the process instead of worrying about the results too much. So I used to be a horrible perfectionist, and I struggled with this for most part of my life actually. And the problem was that since I'm a really creative but also very strategic person, I always wanted to get all the pieces together perfectly before actually building the thing that I want to build. Now this might also explain why when I was a kid I really enjoyed playing with Legos, but I didn't really enjoy the end result as much as, well, the actual process of designing everything perfectly. And then really playing with it wasn't that interesting to me anymore. But in terms of music production, this is also true. I obsessed about learning the little techniques and all the intricate details and watching a ton of tutorials, reading books and so on and so forth to get better at the thing that I want to do, which is writing awesome music and releasing it. But the only thing that has truly made a difference is to just produce a ton of ideas, then practice arranging the best of these ideas, finalizing them, and then mixing and mastering. And you can go through a deliberate practice process on every single one of these phases, but nothing is going to replace just the sheer volume that you have to go through. And as a professional mixing and mastering engineer, I can say that's exactly the same thing. The theory about mixing and mastering doesn't help you at all if you don't put in the work of mixing and mastering hundreds of songs by other producers. So you get this matrix view where you see things suddenly line up in a very different way. And so quality through quantity is something that I've learned and adopted. It was one of the most useful things I've learned from my mentors, and I'm really glad that I've implemented this in basically everything that I do. So just to give you an example with these videos here, I mean, of course I could do all of that with a perfect backdrop and have animated titles flying in all the time and whatever. But the only way for me to get better at sharing my thoughts and going through these videos is to actually put out a ton of videos with, first of all, a relatively minimal setup. Now, the next thing that I've learned from my mentors, and this has been super valuable as well, is I learned this actually from the first label executive, the first label owner who signed my band back then, 15 years ago or something. And he told me that the best way to succeed in the music industry is to be willing to be in it forever, basically. Play the infinite game, so to speak. And this has been so incredibly valuable because it took away all of this pressure of having to make it work immediately. Because of course, if your first 2 albums and EPs and singles and so on just don't really land with your audience, you might get discouraged. You might think that it's just not good enough, you don't have the talent and so on and so forth. But he told me that after signing hundreds of artists to his various labels, so he ran a whole conglomerate of labels, he noticed one pattern that was so extremely clear. From the people who stuck with music production and writing in general, the ones who just didn't quit, there was no one in this group that didn't make it. So just by being willing to stay with this game forever, basically, makes it impossible not to succeed, which I find very comforting. And most of these people saw success much earlier than you might have thought, first of all. But from the beginning, they were willing to just stick with this forever, no matter how long it takes. If you are in a rush, if you think that you need to succeed within the next 2 years and otherwise you probably don't deserve it, then this is a self-limiting belief, and I think you're totally wrong with that assumption. And the last thing that I've learned from one of my mentors, this is something that has to do with your audience. He said to me once, you have to genuinely care about the people you serve. And this sounds simple, but there's actually a layer of depth to that that I don't want you to miss. And that is, so many of us, so many music producers, so many artists, they see themselves as the hero in the journey, basically. They are the one that people look up to. They have fans, so to speak. They have people that believe in them, and so on and so forth. But what they don't notice is that with this also comes a certain level of responsibility. So if you've made it to a certain point of success in your career, and that can be like your first 10 true fans, I think you have an obligation to serve them in a meaningful way. Meaning, if they reach out to you, do whatever you can to respond, to just genuinely care about them. If you play a show and you notice that some of your audience members that typically show up with a great mood on this specific day have a really bad mood, it seems, why not just start talking to them and asking them how they're doing, like genuinely caring. And the same holds true for social media interactions and so on and so forth. If you just blast out things and you make this a one-way communication, then I think you're missing the most critical point, because in the end, your whole success depends on the interaction that they have with you. And if you don't genuinely care about your audience, then I think you prevent yourself from a lot of success. And also, I think in a way, this is when you don't deserve that level of success. Now, this does not mean that you have to interact with every stalker or every spammy comment or whatever. It's not what I mean. But there are people who truly give a damn about your existence. And it's super important to take them seriously and to also prove that you are, in a way, worthy this level of success. Okay, that was it. These were the 3 things that I've learned from my mentors. There's obviously a ton more, but this is like the most important stuff, I believe. And leave a comment below if you want to hear more of this type of stuff, if you want to know more about things that I've learned in the past, maybe mistakes that I've made. Just leave a comment below and let me know what you want to know, and I will share this with you. And if you have follow-up questions, also just comment and I will be there for you as well in the comments. Take care, see you next time, bye bye.